Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. As you can see, this is a podcast which is not that I take a lot of pride in lighting and everything like that, but this is bad lighting, but the mic is not going to be bad. So, we are here at the Surat Litfest, and obviously, I have my friends Harsh, Abhijit, and Anand. And
Hello. Bad lighting, worse panelists. What
yeah,
could go wrong?
Anand, speak for yourself, please. So we were chilling in the room, and then this all started in Mumbai. It is Abhijit's fault. He said, "ए तू अपना माइक लेके आना." तो हम लोग
साले तूने बोला था कि
हाँ
तू करेगा ना।
हाँ तो मैं तो करूंगा ना, मगर तूने एग्री किया ना आइडिया से,
हाँ,
तूने एग्री किया ना आइडिया से।
किया।
तो फिर पहले मुझे लग रहा था कि हर्ष कल आने वाला है, तो हम कल करने वाले थे। बाद में पता चला हर्ष तो आज रात को आने वाला है, तो फिर हमने डिसाइड किया कि आज रात को करेंगे। फिर अच्छा, तो ये so what was the idea behind it? I wanted to prove one thing, that the left talks about diversity, right? So the theme of today's talk that we are doing is diversity of thought. Now we have four people over here who are probably not going to agree on many things. So you have negativity ki parakastha, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Mr. Positivity Harsh Madhusudan Gupta, Anand Ranganathan कोई नया एंगल जरूर निकालेगा अपना, and I am there. So मैं सबसे कम बोलूंगा, but today we decided we're gonna try
Don't
and
break the habit of a lifetime.
Not yet.
so let's start. So हम लोग सोच रहे थे किस पे बात करना है. आनंद ने सुबह बोला था I want to have a discussion around caste too, right? तो हम caste पे भी बात
Did I?
आनंद तू तो बड़ा सीधा इंसान है.
We
अच्छा,
have a recorded
Would
conversation.
you like to see?
Your phone is full of God knows how many thousands of videos there. It's really scary. You like the walk,
The-
you Stasi, you like
The best are the ones of Anand singing.
delete them immediately.
No, I'm going to use them as leverage for later.
yes. So here's the point. So फंडा आज का ये है, we're going to have a talk about many issues in a serious yet jovial way. But okay, let me start with the premise. Everybody knows, actually, Anand has not spoken a lot about this, so that's why I want to start with Anand. Not that Anand does not have views about this. इसके पहले आनंद मुझे accuse करे तू मेरे बारे में ऐसे लांछन लगा रहा, नहीं, मगर when it comes to the issue of caste, अभिजीत मतलब हर्ष और मेरा तो मतलब हम मुन्नी बदनाम हुई डार्लिंग सबके लिए.
अरे, तेरा चेहरा अंदर बाहर जाना बहुत डिस्ट्रैक्टिंग है.
अच्छा मैं आ जाऊं ऐसे.
हाँ,
अच्छा देख मैं आ जाता हूँ.
हाँ.
ओके चल ठीक है.
Yeah.
Sorry. तो Anand, so what do you make of this entire caste debate that we have on social media, which famous और infamous लोग जो यहाँ पे बैठे हैं, खास तौर पे मैं और ये, हम दोनों का नाम बहुत खराब है. इसको पता नहीं, इसको वैसे बहुत गालियां मिलती हैं अभिजीत को, मगर इस इशू पे इसको नहीं मिलती है गाली.
Everything bounces off him.
and you can see why.
नहीं, किस इशू पे मेरे को गाली नहीं.
तो कास्ट के इशू पे नहीं मिलती है
He's
इतनी.
like, कौन सी show में नहीं मिलती?
Abhijit is like, I lost count of the amount of times I've been sworn at.
No, they've called me mlecha and whatnot.
No, Malecha for a different reason, but I don't think so. When you give your views on the caste subject, like, look, full disclosure, when it comes to the concept of annihilation of caste, of Anand's favorite Ambedkar, I'm like full on board. I actually not even call it annihilation of caste. I call it annihilation of Jati Varna. I will use the word Jati Varna. I say it's a concept that should be annihilated. Do I think it will actually be annihilated? Obviously not. The meme is too strong. But I just wanted to, so what, like, you're a scientist, so what do you make of it from an evolutionary lens? Well, how do you look at it from a lifespan of human beings? That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, so and my views, I have written about it and I've spoken about it as well. I like to keep it very simple because I haven't studied about caste as much as actually this is true, the three of you have. So the first one is I don't consider myself as Indian at all. I consider myself as Ethiopian. And I've said this before. Not because, no, Ethiopian.
It's a great start.
Descendant of Lucy.
Yeah.
I think Lucy was
Yeah.
ACL1, 2. We are all. So,
No, I get what you're saying.
and caste just makes absolutely no sense. So that is my starting premise.
Mm.
That I'm not Indian. I'm Ethiopian. If at all you want to pigeonhole me into, where are you from? Right? My descendant is Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that automatically clears 95% of questions anybody is ever going to ask me about caste. The next 5% I have written extensively on how wrong Gandhi was when he wanted to talk about hereditary Varna system,
Mhm.
which was basically incorporating caste and mixing it, intertwining it with Varna system. And I have written a lot, in fact, 3 articles expounding on what Ambedkar thought of caste, including one where very extensively he critiques Gandhi, and the other one where I have sourced very heavily from Annihilation of Caste. So, and third, which I haven't talked about at all because I haven't had a chance to write about it, but I have read a lot about it, is the amazing views of Savarkar on caste,
Mhm.
which I would say were more progressive than even Ambedkar's.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Mm.
So these are the 3 things in which I put my thing. One is, from a scientific perspective, caste makes absolutely no sense. Nationalities make no sense, right? B, from the caste perspective, intertwining it is what Gandhi did, which is absolutely wrong. And even Ambedkar accepted it, that it is non-Hindu. In many ways, what Gandhi is doing is actually non-Hindu. And in one of the things which I've quoted, he is so perturbed by it that he makes a beseeching call to Hindus. He starts off as saying, "Oh Hindus!" exclamation mark. What are you doing? You know, when he's so he had very strong views, and he said it repeatedly that caste has been intertwined with Varna, and Gandhi has proved it by saying, and Gandhi in fact said it, that I have no problems with the Shudras learning how to fight or learning how to recite the Vedas, as long as they don't make their earning from it. This kind of ridiculous remarks have come from Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
Right? I've written about all these things. So these are, in short, these are my views.
So you agree with the critique of caste by all these folks of the system itself?
Savarkar, Ambedkar, and I completely disagree with Mahatma Gandhi. These are the 3 things.
Interesting. So when it comes to this concept, when we have this discussion that you are looking at it from a Western lens, a Christian lens, a lens that is not Indian, and so what do you make of that whole defense that comes?
I don't believe that this is not Indian, as many people say. British brought the caste system. The fact is, the moment you have the Varna system, let's be very honest about it, it wouldn't take an Einstein to devolve it into something which is hereditary. So Gandhi was right because he analyzed the society correctly, because that is exactly what happened. He agreed with what had happened, is what I disagree with. But the fact is, you can't blame him for saying that, look, this has happened. Caste actually, it was logical for caste to be intertwined with Varna to make it hereditary, which was completely wrong. And even if Hindu text did not talk about, and Harsh would know more about this, I have not read much about it. Even if the Hindu text didn't talk much about the caste at all, some may say at all, even if they talked about Shudras and Varna system, there are many texts where they talk really disparagingly and denigratingly about Shudra. So even in those 4 castes where they say, or people claim that they are interchangeable, you could swap it, go up and down. The fact is that the jati of or varn of Shudra was considered really low. You can't escape that. Am I correct, Harsh, in that?
Yeah, at least they had a varn. Some people did not have varn also.
Yeah.
Varnas.
So it is not a Western concept. That is my view.
So okay, so it's interestingly मैं होप कर रहा था कि कोई तो डिसएग्री करेंगे, तो हम चारों के सेम व्यूज है इसमें.
I knew Anand's views.
No, I think
my views are known, well known.
Yeah, I knew Anand's views.
I think there is a nuance difference in all our views, though.
क्या है?
So, for example, I disagree with caste. Clearly served some kind of a purpose in those days. We don't know what exactly it is, because you see gilding happen even in Europe. Okay. And I never realized this about guilds because none of the books talk about it. The one book that does talk about it is Barbara Tuchman's Calamitous 14th Century, which is one of the most famous books ever written about medieval Europe, where she's very clear about this. The lower classes were not allowed to wear certain colors of clothes. It didn't matter how rich you were. You couldn't wear gold in public. You could not attend certain public functions, etc., etc., etc. It was there in Rome as well. Current, yeah.
Whoa. लाइट
Anyway.
गई, आएगी अभी,
अभी आ
बैकअप
जाएगी,
लाइट
no
अभी
problem.
आएगी.
Is the
Yeah.
internet on?
I hope so. And yeah,
I think the internet is on. Yeah.
yeah, internet is on.
Irrespective,
It is on.
So in Rome, for example, you had certain professions, like barbers, people who ran gladiatorial schools and things, who could not aspire to public office. They simply could not be elected. So you will see stratification and exclusion in every society, every pre-industrial society. And that's the important point. This is where I think you can overcome caste through industrialization and urbanization, the forces that it releases. But it isn't unique to India. What is unique to India is the extremity of the exclusion.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the untouchable aspect.
Exactly, the untouchability aspects.
So I guess what you're saying
But I have
is
a
societies had class. India created a caste separate subset under the class barrier. Is that I'm asking a question. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Okay, so class and caste are very different, and they're similar in a certain.
They're hierarchies, Abhijit.
They're hierarchies, basically, right? They are hierarchies. The thing is, people forget how oppressive European class used to be because Europe is industrialized. Okay, you look at Victorian England. Do you think it was any kind of social mobility was possible? You wouldn't be allowed if you were Eliza Doolittle. You would simply not be allowed into Professor what's Rex Harrison's name in that thing? Professor Henry Higgins's house. Period. Certainly not to stay in there. No.
I have written about this.
So
let me get
there's
out
just
that
one
passage.
other thing that I wanted to add in all of this, which is for every period where you've had an extremely negative description of caste, you've also had a very similar description that proves the exact opposite in India. So, for example, you've had the Shudra dynasty. Which one is it? The Kakatiyas or the Southern dynasty who took great
Many
pride?
of them were. Many.
Who the Mauryas were lower
were,
caste, right? So the problem is, I think the right focuses on the exclusions to say the exclusions are the rule. The left focuses on the rule to say, oh no, the exclusions never happened. It was a very complex picture. It wasn't black and white. It was shades of grey.
Vice versa, I think. Confused right and left.
Yeah.
The left basically says exclusion is the rule. The right says it never happened.
No. No. Exclusion in the sense. Sorry, I didn't mean excluding people. I meant the exclusions to the caste system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's an important point.
12 बज गए हैं.
I know.
12 बज गए हैं. तो ये हर्ष और अभिजीत दोनों की हालत खराब है. मगर इसके लिए आनंद दोषी है. आनंद ने 20 मिनट
Anand actually delayed this podcast by a good 30 minutes because he was busy singing in a horrible voice and terribly offbeat songs, Bollywood songs.
80s
I have made
songs.
compromising videos of him and our friend Gautam Chikarmani singing these songs. You see, Gautam sings even worse than Anand. So, yeah.
So
please go to Gautam Chikarmani's Twitter handle. If you could bring it up and please troll him about it.
No, so I think.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The three of you. Do you find anything wrong with Varna system?
So I'll answer that. So I think
it's a simple yes or no, and then you can
No.
elaborate on that.
yes. So there is nothing wrong with the Varna.
You don't find anything.
I'll tell you why.
Abhijit,
I have problems with
you have
that.
problems.
I-
And
Well, of course.
Kushal,
Obviously.
you do have problems with Varna.
I believe even the Varna system is useless.
So the Varna
Now,
system,
please tell.
yeah. So the Varna Jati system is problematic only if you
Okay,
are
just starting from basics because the audience won't know. Just give a quick one-line
Yeah.
summary of the difference.
I'll do, for example. So Varna is obviously in some ways you can just understand as the proclivity of the person. Jati is obviously tautologically by birth, right? Jati is literally by definition by birth. So I always give this example. Let's say you are Swedish American or Polish American in the Midwest of the US, and you're celebrating some festival or some kind of apple custard or whatever you're celebrating that your ancestors brought 200 years ago. So that's some kind of Jati pride, right? There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is if you are told that all Polish Americans must be soldiers, all German Americans must be doctors, or all French Americans must clean toilets or whatever, right? I mean, the problem is the hereditary overlap of Jati with Varna. Jati by itself is not problematic. I mean, it's just literally a definition. Varna by itself is not problematic. Historically, even within the more so the Jati Varna system, the most important point to say is that in the Rig Veda or in the kind of core Vedic texts, it's not really mentioned as hereditary anywhere. It starts coming in some of the commentaries. It starts coming in the Dharma Sutras, which are before the Shastras, the Dharma Shastras. The Dharma Sutras are very clearly what we would call in modern parlance. They were very obsessed with caste, in the sense that if you're the child of X, you can only do X. If you're the child of Y, you can only do Y. So just like Abhijit was saying, I mean, in France we had the Cagots, in Japan we had the Burakumin. We all pre-industrial societies were basically quasi-feudal, right? And there was not just an element of class, there's an element of caste.
Yeah.
So social
Plato had it.
So social mobility was not just restricted on economics.
I just want to make a point since you brought up. I'd totally forgotten this. When I used to deal with the Japan market, I'd once invited this. I'd asked for some choice Wagyu, and I invited the guy in, and the family I was staying with were absolutely stunned. They didn't say anything to me till, my friend, he was like, "Why did you call him in? They don't want butchers entering their house."
So the Burakumin is historically the tanner community equivalent of Japan.
ये वही है ना जो article तूने और मैंने
It's the
discuss
same
किया
as
था.
India. Undertakers, butchers, tanners, etc. They don't want them entering.
No,
their
but
houses.
it's not fully true in the sense that in the 1930s they had intermarriage of around 5%. The latest numbers are around 90%. There is no endogenous Burakumin community left anymore.
There is
90%
there is a
actually
sort of,
Indian Dalit activists are reviving this movement in Japan more than the Burakumin themselves.
Possibly, but what I have personally seen, and this is just about 15 years back, is that based on occupation, they will not want you coming inside their house. You may be Burakumin or not, but if you're a butcher, they don't want you in the house. Okay, number one. Number two, and this wasn't just this family. Then I started asking other people, and a lot. But then
is that really caste?
One second.
Is that really caste?
And I've asked a lot of other friends if they've noticed this, and if you dig a bit, it comes out. Right. So it is an occupation-based thing. It isn't caste in the sense that it's not hereditary.
It's not hereditary,
but it is occupational.
So I think that's less problematic then, because if somebody doesn't know.
But it was hereditary.
It was hereditary. It was
because most of the Yakuza come from the Japanese Dalit caste because they were outcast. The tanners, the butchers, the undertakers, they were the ones that formed the Yakuza.
It was very similar to very similar to our. In fact, meat in general was not accepted in Japan.
You could not eat beef.
This is very post Meiji.
No, it's post American occupation.
Yes.
Before that, they would only eat fish, frogs, snails.
Gunboat diplomacy.
तो अबे ये meat नहीं होता क्या?
I mean,
no. But
I think we've gone.
No four-legged
I asked
animals.
a question, so I request for very brief answers that audience will appreciate.
So I think there's nothing wrong with
around. Yeah, so I went around asking each one of you.
नहीं मेरा
do
answer
you
तो
find
वही नहीं.
anything objectionable with the Varna system?
Yeah.
And Harsh said no. And Harsh, can you give a reason in one sentence why you say no?
Yeah, because if the Varna maps to individuals and not to Jatis, there is nothing wrong. All societies are based on division of labor.
Right.
Ambedkar said division of laborers is the problem.
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with division of labor.
There is nothing wrong with that. Okay.
So long as it is not exclusively hereditary.
Correct. Yeah, okay.
So just one line I'll add there also, where people say Varna by birth. Varna by birth is not problematic. See, you might have certain innate tendencies. The question is, do you and your sibling necessarily have the same tendencies? Birth is not the same as hereditary. There's a slight difference. I might by birth be inclined to something. Now, nature versus nurture, free will, determinism, you can debate that non-stop. But I might be very different from my brother or my sister. So even if you agree that there is an element of janma, not just guna and karma, whatever, that does not necessarily mean lineage. That is the issue. By janma is not per se problematic.
So it's basically just division of labor.
Yes.
Varna is division of labor.
All
And you
modern
have no
economies
objection to that.
In fact, we must have Varna by definition.
And every society has it, right?
The richer the society, more Varna division, more complexity, there is more
And is it natural that the over time, the divisions in this labor, some of those divisions get mocked at, ridiculed, are denigrated? Is that also natural?
Yes, of course.
So for example, working class is
Yes.
denigrated.
In
right?
the US also it happens.
Right.
I mean, so again, the issue is one of mobility.
Yes.
It's not if
correct. So I'll
Yes,
come to that.
yes.
So you okay, right now, Abhijit, you have an objection with Varna system. You said yes. In one sentence, can you sum it up? What is your objection?
Right. My objection to it, generally I agree with Harsh. My objection to it is the fact that it's very easily conflated with caste.
Yeah.
Now that is
So-
not the problem of Varna.
It is not the problem
It's
of
one
Varna,
of the
but
people.
it is, of course.
That's what I mean.
But-
So, yeah.
But across, like Harsh said, it isn't unique to India. Okay,
Absolutely.
it's across the world. There are some professions that are looked down upon. Okay, which is for me kind of problematic, even though I'm personally quite guilty of it,
Okay.
because I've always been brought up to believe that a gentleman must not work. So I generally
And you
despise
work.
all-
You work.
uh,
Oh, but you're a woman. So
I work hardly.
No, but okay. Now let me sum it up. So actually, Abhijit also doesn't have any objection to Varna system. His objection is that people are misunderstanding it, which is like, and he says it on Twitter all the time.
It's easy to
when
conflict.
he says, "You idiot! Why can't you comprehend myself?" So it's not his problem. Your tweet is not the issue. People are not comprehending your tweet. So that's not your tweet's issue. So it is not. He doesn't also have any problem with Varna system. Now let me come to myself before I come to Kushal.
Sure.
I have no problem with Varna system for exactly the same reasons as Harsh. My only, again, it is not the problem of Varna system. It is the problem of people not being able to comprehend it. That one division of the labor is being mocked and ridiculed at. I partake in that division of labor all the time. I enjoy it. It is a great relief for me to have physical labor involved in dishwashing or whatever you may say it. I'm just saying it jocularly. So I have no issues in that. All divisions, according to me, are the same, should be swappable, but that's again not the issue of Varna system at all. So I have no objection. So no objections to Varna system. Now let's come to you.
There is no Varna system without Jati.
That's utter nonsense.
Not in the way I have understood Hinduism.
So
There is no Varna system.
Explain.
Well, the reason is that Jati and Varna are intertwined in a inseparable manner. There are barely any situations where, look, you calling Varna a division of labor, with due respect to all three of you, you are my friends, is a post hoc analysis. It is not a justification. You are using your current understanding of division of labor and you are imposing it on a time. It's very funny because people accuse me of criticizing decoloniality all the time, but I'm actually giving it its due credit over there.
one second.
You-
You're flying off in all directions.
No, because there is no Varna without Jati, Anand.
No, I'm looking at the textbook definition
Yes.
of Varna.
The text.
Textbook. Let's stick to that.
Huh.
Then we'll come to. We have a lot of. Or
Yeah.
you have to
Okay.
Shut this down.
So the Purusha
Don't.
Sukta. Okay, so the textbook definition
Textbook
of Varna.
definition of Varna. Do you have any issue with that?
Of the Rigvedic Purusha Suktam, which divides the Purusha
In
into
four.
four parts,
Yes.
is just it is not even a hierarchy or a division of labor. It literally says the brain is X, the
Yes.
thighs are X. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is just a physical demarcation.
Do you have to? Are you saying that is a textbook definition according to your Varna?
That's not the textbook definition.
What is the textbook definition? of
The
Varna?
textbook definition of
It's
Varna.
division of labor.
No.
Let him finish.
Let me finish. यार, तू तो बोलने ही नहीं
He
दे रहा
go- he-
Yeah,
he rambles
let him,
on
let
for a
him.
long time just because
Let
it's his podcast. He says
साले मैं तो सबसे कम बोलता हूँ.
Well,
वेदों में जो पुरुष सुक्तम में है वो वर्ण की जो तुम लोग बोल रहे हो डिवीजन ऑफ लेबर कहाँ लिखा है वेदों में? किधर भी नहीं लिखा है. उसमें तो सिर्फ ये लिखा है कि ये शूद्र है, ये ऐसा है. ये सारे जो एक्सप्लेनेशंस आते हैं वो पोस्ट वैदिक लिटरेचर में आ रहे हैं. और वहां पे मेरे को एक जगह बताओ जहां वर्ण और जाति सेपरेट है.
I'm sorry, Purush Sukta has the Varna system explained.
Uh,
You need an intelligent person to interpret it.
यार
नहीं,
कुछ तो
नहीं,
मैं अभी ऋग्वेद खोल के तेरे को पढ़ के बता दूंगा.
Obviously, you haven't been able to interpret it because, as I said,
डॉक्टर
But-
जाकिर नायक.
if you're saying that there are four labors, There are
They
four
don't.
divisions.
They just
One division has it is understood that people who would be applying their brain to a job will be doing a particular type of work.
It actually does not even necessarily mean that. There was Ambedkar wrote the same person.
Hard
might
labor को
be
brain नहीं लगता,
different inclinations in different times of the life. So that need not even mean a person.
So that's even better version
even
of
better.
one.
So
So you're wrong twice over.
it
So,
need not
okay,
even mean a person.
let's get back to the point that
Huh.
Kushal was making. Again, you're very verbose. What he was saying was, before us, before say post industrializing India,
It was understood in a
there
certain
was-
manner.
the understanding of Varna was through Jati.
Yes.
Yes.
We have now separated
Correct.
it based on what is
Yeah, so
convenient
what?
to us.
So what?
No,
I'm
no.
looking at the textbook definition.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not going to
that's not
change.
the
But
textbook
don't go by
definition.
textbook
The
definition.
claim is that it's a revival. It's not
To start with,
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going by the textbook
Yeah.
definition. Because
First,
let
Which is
people
the-
understand
but
that.
the Vedas is not the textbook definition. Veda ke time mein Jati was, again, it was a totally different construct.
exactly.
In the
So-
time of the Vedas,
so
you
I'll
could-
tell you.
the
So
sun
for
could be-
example, the Shastras,
Disentangle
the
this for me.
Dharma Sutras, they say that this is Yuga Dharma. It is not Sanatan Dharma. In fact, the Dharma Sutras say that actually you go to women in Shudras, they should have their own sutras. Although ironically, they also mention how to punish them if they don't do X or Y. But basically, so even the sutras, the smritis, they do not claim that this is Sanatan. So fine, it is just a Vyavastha. As Gulwalkar said, just a Vyavastha. Vyavasthas change. Exactly what Abhijit said, right? उस समय different jati systems, अभी different है, कल को कुछ और है. The point is Varna per se only mapping to a community on a hereditary basis.
Yeah.
I don't think there is any proof of that in the core text if you go by. Now people say that is Protestantism because you are going back to the Bible equivalent and you are basically skipping the intermediaries, which is according to them the Catholic priest equivalent. So my version is yes, of course.
So it is.
If you are Catholic, I'm
The
Protestant.
worst case scenario is 3-1, right? Let Kushal
No,
disagree.
wait, actually, there's not to be fair to Kushal, there's not a disagreement. He's saying that the reality on the
He's
ground
nitpicking.
it was defined as mapping to
अब
jati.
मैंने ऋग्वेदा खोल दिया है.
Okay.
हाँ, कि
मतलब
देख,
in the sense कि
सिर्फ तू अकेला नहीं है ना जो वर्स कोट कर सकता है. जब हिंदुइज्म की बारी आती है तो मैं तेरा
ऋग्वेदा में क्या है?
हाँ, ऋग्वेदा में ये लिखा है. मैं 10.90 खोल के बैठा हूँ. 10.90 11 से पढ़ते हैं. ठीक
because
है.
ऋग्वेदा में नहीं है
और एक ट्रांसलेशन नहीं इसके कि मेरे को कोई अक्यूज करे. मैं 3 ट्रांसलेशन पढ़ूंगा.
मंडला 10
या मंडला 10 में से स्टार्ट करते हैं. ठीक है. तो मंडला 10 में द ब्राह्मण वाज हिज माउथ, द रूलर वाज मेड हिज 2 arms, as to his thighs, that is what the freeman was. From his 2 feet the servant was born. इसमें कौन सी हायरार्की और डिवीजन ऑफ जॉब एंड लेबर एक्सप्लेन
That's
किया?
exactly
What are
what we
you
are
talking
saying.
about?
That is what we are
ये
saying.
division
This
of
is what
labor
division
नहीं
of labor is.
This is not division of labor.
I'm astonished.
This is literally just explanation of a
This is
divine
crazy.
purusha.
Tell me. Okay, one second.
Absolute
One
madness.
second.
I'll tell you what Anand's reference
What is the servant's occupation?
What is
What is
the
the servant supposed to
नहीं,
do?
वो तो तू तो अपनी टांगे यूज नहीं करता है.
thighs, boss? ये मेरे
नहीं, तू तो मसाज पार्लर में रख के आता है ना अपनी टांगों को.
That had a correlation to farming. Farming was the Vaishya business. It was literally. I mean, now we think of Vaishya as only business, but the farming part
Yes.
was actually correlated to the third Varna in that sense.
I mean, the
But-
word servant.
So here's the issue. Cleaning requires brains. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
कोविड में मैंने भी
Farming
पोछा
requires
मारा था.
brains, हाँ.
So that's even better.
No, what are we disputing?
What is-
I
what
think we're all saying the same thing because it actually.
No, I'm not. I'm
I'll tell
clearly
you what-
disagreeing
I'll
with
tell
all
you
three
what
of you.
Anand means. Anand is division of labor versus laborers is the Ambedkar framework. He's
Yeah, I
saying-
know.
So he's simply saying कि भाई division of labor ही तो है because that does not necessarily say कि that person is hereditary.
This is the problem. There is no division of labor intended over here. मैं तेरे को अभी ग्रिफिथ की
But
ट्रांसलेशन
it is
पढ़ के
definitely
बता
not
देता
division of laborers, right?
हूँ. It is neither labor nor
Well,
laborers.
then
It is
it's
just a divine explanation of what a divine
that-
purusha was.
That
That's
works.
all.
That works for us.
So all the interpretation of this, see, you try and
But
understand.
we can have our own interpretation.
Does Gita? Okay,
Now this is how.
Yes.
तुम लोग
So
ने मेरे को
that is
बोल.
the point he's making.
मैं यही बोल
We
रहा
are
था.
all taking our
understood
own
that.
interpretations.
Exactly.
As it suits us.
I understood.
And I was
that,
going to
but
come to the
at
point
same
where I
time-
agree with you guys is हम ऋग्वेदा की core definition
Okay,
की बात
point.
नहीं कर
I
रहे हैं.
think everybody's getting bored. Move on.
Oh, really?
Okay.
No,
You're
I
getting the
think
messages from.
this was useful actually the way Anand framed it.
Let's keep it very simple.
Yes.
Why
नहीं,
complicate
नहीं, बहुत
it?
अच्छी बात है. कभी-कभी आनंद भी अच्छे काम कर लेता है.
So now my second question is:
चल
Thought
बोल.
process is
Do
better
you
than your
find-
singing.
Do you find anything objectionable? Listen to me carefully.
हाँ.
In Bhagavad Gita, as far as Varna is concerned.
No.
You don't find it.
I don't.
Harsh.
So I think the parts where Arjun speaks, he speaks in a certain context. The way Krishna Bhagavan responds, he responds in a certain context. The way Krishna Bhagavan responds on, he for example does not mention Kul Dharma, he mentions Swadharma. Arjun is a kind of obsessed with Varna Sankar, which is kind of understood as a mixing of Varnas. Of course, that is also not necessarily a problem if you go by the Varna definition, right? It is equivalent to saying somebody with a scholarly inclination marrying somebody with a commercial inclination. That need not necessarily mean hereditary caste intermarriage being prohibited. But if you take Krishna's lens, I don't think there is anything problematic. And if you talk to somebody like Dr. Conrad else, he'll say, no, that is always understood to be in a certain way. Again, what is understood to be in a certain way and what was written are two different things. Because we are not going by the commentaries. We are going by what was in the text itself.
Yes.
Because let's at least do first principles there.
Yes.
So I think that in that sense, what Krishna said in Gita is not problematic.
Right. And so before I come to Abhijit, let me add my limited knowledge of this. I don't find anything wrong in that because I am not interpreting it. This is the same thing which I do with verses as well of all religions. I don't interpret it. I don't put my opinion on it. I just say it as it is. And if you were to read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, or whatever you may say, but you, without reading 3 translations of it, without reading 4 interpretations of it, what will you gain out of it? Leave that to me. I mean, that is the caveat that I go with.
The most common explanation, the most obvious explanation of guna and karma is guna and karma.
Yeah.
Occam's razor.
Correct.
People say, no, you have to link it to your past birth and therefore there is a retrospective fixing of jati.
So that, not 1 second. So it's 2-0. Abhijit. See,
So much pressure on Abhijit. Abhijit, I want to disagree, but damn it, I cannot.
No. Let's be serious. It's a very we are disentangling something here which possibly hasn't been disentangled in a very long time. People are going to more than 10 people are going to actually listen to your podcast for the first time. So,
मतलब आनंद को तो इज्जत कर मेरी.
I'll tell you the thing with the Gita. I started studying it very late. Okay. And that was at the point where I decided to start interpreting it for myself. And obviously, my interpretations of the Gita are very suitable to me. I don't know if that is what Krishna actually meant, but I have interpreted it in a way where I find it not offensive at all.
Achha.
I don't disagree with the Gita. My interpretation of the Gita. Let's put it.
But is there a plausible offensive interpretation? Is there a plausible offensive interpretation?
There's a plausible offensive interpretation for everything.
Of what?
Let me give you not Gita adjacent, Mahabharata story. Okay.
That's fine.
Now, we all know the story of Ekalavya. Okay. Yes. Ekalavya was this tribal boy who saw Dronacharya training the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And the dog barked. Ekalavya shot its mouth full of arrows. And then Dronacharya, who was jealous. Now, here's the thing. Was jealous because he had promised that Arjuna would become the best. Asked him for his thumb. Now, I would say, like Romila Thapar says, that it was Ashoka who inspired renunciation in Yudhishthira. I would say this is a caste interpretation of that particular incident. As a dog lover, my interpretation is that Dronacharya, who was a Dharma Guru, saw that this boy was so cruel, he would actually shoot arrows into the mouth of a defenseless animal and decided, this is my interpretation. Who are you to challenge it?
Don't talk like an Abrahamic.
No,
you're talking like an Abrahamic.
No, I'm saying you are the one talking like an Abrahamic. You are the one saying you are the Abrahamic. You are the colonized mind.
But
you are the one that has denying my right to interpret it my way.
We owe it to the audience to have a very serious discussion. Otherwise, we can be very fluid.
Can I make a point?
Let me finish my point.
Let him complete.
So my interpretation is Dronacharya, and here's the thing. Do you have to agree with the motive given in the Mahabharata? There are several tellings of the Mahabharata. Okay. My telling of the Mahabharata is Dronacharya saw a person who was capable of cruelty to something that was not capable of defending itself.
Sorry to interrupt. Can Kushal stop meshing his fingers with his toes?
Okay, sorry.
Really offensive.
Okay,
please.
Sorry.
So this is my interpretation of it. And I am well within my rights to claim that the fingers done by a casteist school of thought that became prominent and interpreted it in that way.
Okay. So now can I add my bit to it? My most logical explanation is that Dronacharya asked for Eklavya's thumb because he did not want somebody who he wasn't teaching to be better than who he was teaching. That's my Occam's razor interpretation. Not going into whether Dronacharya, what it does is it's the most logical explanation in my view, because it doesn't go delve into Dronacharya's mind, whether he was a pet lover or not a pet lover and what it's very simple thing. He was a guru.
Have a sense of justice.
He was a guru. He was a teacher,
He has a sense of justice.
and he just found out that someone who wasn't even being taught, let alone by him, by anyone else, was better than the guy he was teaching. So it would affect his ego. That, my God, what is so in that?
Okay.
That fit of this.
One second. In the
So,
best traditions,
let me just add that.
Let me
finish that. Let me finish this thing. That is my explanation. As to, so I don't think caste comes into it. Number one. Number two, I don't think Dronacharya's love for animals comes into it. That is my explanation.
Now, let me add another layer to the explanation. I accept your explanation. Unlike you who rejected my explanation, I accept. So I am a Hindu, you are not.
Swami.
Yes.
This is a very nice debate happening. Yes. And whoever wins will end up converting the other to a Muslim.
Now, let me come up with the fourth explanation. This is where Dronacharya is not an animal lover or a dog lover specifically.
Oh my God.
Did anyone actually see Ekalavya shoot those arrows? No. They only saw the dog run out with the arrows in its mouth. Okay. So, what was the evidentiary standard used to take of Ekalavya's thumb?
This is Abhijit channeling his inner Michel Foucault.
I haven't even
look at Anand.
Look
at Anand giving Abhijit the look.
Asked Eklavya.
He asked Ekalavya. How did he know Ekalavya wasn't boasting?
Wasn't boasting.
Wasn't lying.
Now, this is one question. Second question. One second. Second question. What is tougher? For you to shoot the eye of a parrot on a tree, which is literally, if anybody has a parrot, it is literally, let me show you this on the camera, it is like this big. As opposed to anybody who has a dog who will tell you even a chihuahua's mouth is this big.
When you do something like this, it reminds me of some other part of anatomy that you have. But anyway, please continue.
That's yours, not mine. Of this big.
Anand literally said this is a serious podcast.
What takes more skill? Shooting an arrow into something this big or shooting an arrow into something this big? When it's fully open, because to bark it has to be fully open.
But what was the distance of Eklavya from the dog?
Is it mentioned?
Maybe no. Dronacharya must have.
No.
Okay, now I have to intervene. What the hell are you two doing?
No, it is a logical interpretation. For what you're saying is that Dronacharya did not even see logically that what his pupil could achieve was much more difficult to do, like hitting the eye of the fish or the parrot, than stuffing a dog with arrows.
I have an even simpler point to make.
My thing is, someone as genius as Dronacharya would have come to the conclusion that Eklavya is better than Arjuna after finding out that the distance between Eklavya and the dog must have been so huge.
But this is your interpretation. Does it
my interpretation rests on the genius of Dronacharya.
Okay,
does the
now
Mahabharata say that he asked him for that?
Okay, I'm gonna play the moderator now.
I don't know what is happening. While agreeing with Anand's razor point, there's an even more simpler point. Maybe even a Dharmaguru was casteist. First, we can accept the interpretation that there were casteist people, because as we discussed in Europe and Japan in pre-industrial times, people always had this kind of clan-based impediments to social and economic mobility.
But then what you do is you occlude if there was a Kshatriya, who Dronacharya did not teach and who was found in the forest and who did exactly the same thing, Dronacharya would not have asked for his thumb.
Yes, I'm actually agreeing with that point. I'm saying maybe.
What I'm saying is, when you say Dronacharya was a casteist, then it makes sense for Dronacharya to not punish someone of upper caste.
I'm not saying he was. I'm saying maybe he was.
But Karna was punished. Karna was punished. You know the scorpion story?
Yes.
Karna was punished for pretending to be a Brahmin, no?
No, even
not-
the
he
Mahabharata
wasn't
openly says
punished.
that
He was punished.
no,
he
Karna
he
was made a
cursed.
prince. Karna was made a prince of a kingdom.
He was cursed
so
that
that he
when
could take part.
when he needed something, he would forget it. So he went to this priest. He pretended to be a Brahmin and got knowledge from him. And the teacher said, "I'm going to lie down on your lap." He lay down on his lap, and there was the scorpion that came and started biting him. Something. And when the guru woke up, he said, "Boss, if you were a Brahmin, you would be screaming and screeching by now."
Wasn't Parshuram?
No. Parshuram would have killed him had he known he was
So the-
Kshatriya. 1 second. So he sees all this blood, and he's like, "You are clearly not a Brahmin. You're a liar. You've got knowledge on false pretenses. When you truly need these Brahmastra and all of this, which is a weaponized technology, you will forget how to invoke it."
But in fact,
Which means he sentenced him to death.
no, I think there was some restriction on Karna to take part in some of the military exercises, which is why Duryodhan made him a prince of a local kingdom. So that's fine. I'm simply saying we do not have to look at the Mahabharata as an endorsement of everything that was correct. So that's the wrong frame to look at as
Fair
well.
point, fair point.
Why did he bring in Mahabharata? Yeah?
No, as an example, he
because
said
you
Gita.
are-
is
Okay,
Gita.
okay,
You
एक
asked
minute, can I
how
answer?
our interpretations mean. So we were discussing how there's 100 ways of interpreting the same story. Because I interpret the Gita my way that suits me
एक
the
मिनट,
best.
मैंने भी पैसे भरे हैं इस शो के.
तो चल, फुटो है. साले हम सब फोकट में आए थे.
हाँ, exactly.
अच्छा सुन, तूने गीता का क्वेश्चन पूछा था.
So the score is 3-0, by the way. We haven't yet come to you.
हाँ, एक
So
मिनट.
now you're coming to him.
तो मैं गीता से ही आंसर
Keep it
दे रहा हूँ. 9.32 is the categorical proof and answer of what the Gita intended and what Krishna wanted and what the society was. दोनों आंसर मिल जाते हैं उसमें. आनंद, याद है लंच हम लोग कर रहे थे बॉम्बे में, तभी मैंने तेरे को यही वर्स बोला था. तो ये वर्स है, all those who take refuge in me, whatever their birth, race, gender or caste, even those whom society scorns, will attain the supreme destination. Now, this is a sanitized translation. I purposely used the sanitized translation because the original Sanskrit verse has interesting words used in it. Striyo vaishyas tatha shudraste pi yanti param. शूद्र, वैश्य और स्त्री, ये तीन को, ये जो है ना सोसाइटी स्कोन्स, ये बेसिकली तीन है. तो ये जो वर्स है, दिस इज अ
denigrating women, Shudras and
Vaishyas. Okay. Krishna is not doing it. In fact, Krishna is a winner in this entire. Krishna is clearly against casteism and discrimination. He says it does not matter if the society scorns you, but you all eventually merge in me. So to answer your question, only one verse is needed to answer this
I must
question.
play devil's advocate on this point because
But it's not Krishna who's doing it.
No, not just that.
That was my question.
No. In fact, Krishna is saying it doesn't matter if
Right.
the
No,
society scorns, but you all come in me. So the text
But
is not
he's
casteist.
saying society
Society is
scorned.
Yeah. So
Correct.
society is casteist. Scripture is not casteist.
Again, what was my question?
तो मैं तो
Was Gita does anything Gita
बिल्कुल,
offend?
तो मैंने तो स्टार्ट से ही तेरे से एग्री किया इसमें.
From that society offends you.
Yeah.
Please listen to the question properly.
we must play the devil's
Yeah,
advocate here on this point.
Very
that
shameful question.
because
Very
see, the person who believes in hereditary Varna system would say, okay, everybody meets and attains supreme destination. That does not negate his understanding of society. So so if somebody, because their father used to clean toilets, he should clean toilets. He eventually gets a supreme destination. That does not by itself show. I'm just playing the devil's advocate. I want to agree
उसका आंसर है ना चातुर्वर्ण्यम माया सृष्टम गुणकर्म विभागश्च.
4.13 is the answer.
वो भी गीता में ही है. So
Yes,
4.13 and 9.32
Together, yes.
together, if used together, 4.13 Bhagavad Gita and 9.32.
4.13, can you say that again?
चल मैं वापस पढ़ के तेरे को
That
बता
is
देता हूँ.
basically that you have to go by guna and karma. That determines the varna of a person. And
Basically, words
people
are
like to say
chatur.
karma is actually based on previous birth, and therefore it comes back to hereditary. So that is the other end. That is that.
So
So
4.13 Anand is the 4 categories of occupations were created by me according to people's qualities and activities. Although I am the creator of this system, know me to be the non-doer and eternal. तो अभी
So where does it say hereditary? Doesn't
तो-
It doesn't. That's what he's saying.
अरे तो वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ
हाँ,
भाई. तो 9.32 और 4.13 को अगर तू कॉम्बिनेशन में भगवत गीता को लेगा तो स्क्रिप्चर इज अ कैटेगोरिकल आंसर टू डिनाइंग एनी काइंड ऑफ बर्थ बेस्ड सिस्टम.
Hereditary.
मगर the indication in 9.13, again, Anand, मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ? The
Society-
society still did it. And the scripture had to tell the society, oh, मेरे पास मत करो.
The society scorned the Varna system. It's not that the society thought of it as hereditary.
No, exactly. Society scorned particular Varnas.
Yeah.
Not that they were hereditary.
Exactly.
That does not say
Which
that.
is what I said.
Which is what
So-
we said in the beginning.
Exactly. So
maybe
4-0.
maybe they look down on a certain
Right, so
profession.
See,
So long
this
as
is
On the
it's not-
Gita, I'm
each one of
totally
us
in agreement.
interprets this differently.
Yes, on Gita it's 4-0.
on Gita it's 4-0.
Yes.
On the first one it is 3-1.
3-1.
Right.
That also I must say
In
semantic.
fact, it should be 4-0
Yes.
because based on the second
He decided to be
question,
contrarian for the sake of it.
for
Ek
the
minute.
like Akar
No.
Patel. Yes.
False
Yeah.
accusations.
You look a bit like Akar Patel.
By the way,
He does actually.
आज का है ना, तुम लोग स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो. अभिजीत काला है, मैं गोरा हूँ.
साले तूने लाइटिंग हॉग करके रखी है हमको.
मैं कहाँ फंस गया?
So what? Do you have a third question? Or should we go discuss something else?
No,
on
I
this?
have a third question.
Yes.
Sir.
I have a third question, which is
Since Abhijit is the de facto.
what is Abhijit doing?
गोरा हो.
Since Anand is the
You've
de
seen
facto.
that
moderator.
propaganda movie that won 8 Oscars, right?
Which one?
Gandhi.
Yes.
Okay. Now, someone who believed so strongly that caste system was intertwined with hereditary system and said so, very offensive things. Do you remember in that thing he really castigates and outrages on Kasturba not cleaning the toilets or so on? Now, I'm just trying to think a mind who would think that would also think of hereditary Varna. So the obvious question is, I mean, agreeing with Ambedkar here, how on earth are we calling this guy Mahatma?
I never call him Mahatma. I call him Mohandas.
Acha.
Yes, I refuse to call him Mahatma.
Really?
Yes.
So I'll take that up.
Yes.
See, I call Gandhi Mahatma. I call Tilak Lokmanya. I call Subhash Chandra Bose Netaji. I call Jawaharlal Nehru
So it's just a
Pandit.
title.
No. There is a certain
Reverence?
there is a certain reverence to it. But the reason I'm saying all these names is it shows that none of them are perfect. So therefore, first of all, calling somebody Mahatma does not mean that you're endorsing all of their views or actions. I think that's
That Mahatma means, I mean, come on. It is beyond just reverence.
no. I mean that's
You
my
have anointed him as a Mahan Atma.
Yeah, but it's still an Atma, right? It's a Mahan Atma, but it's still a human being. So I think there is no reason. This is my personal view that if historically he's been called Mahatma, just like Lokmanya Tilak or Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, I mean, there are many points of view I disagree with on Netaji. I still call it Netaji. So I don't think that by itself is a big issue, but I understand why that gets a lot of claps. So I see on the issue of caste, you have to see Gandhi was the Hindu leader of the first half of the 20th century of India. In fact, in many ways, I think of his appeasement of Muslims during the Khilafat movement as a reality of how caste divided Hindu society was. The only way one leader could actually take leadership of all of India was to concede something to the Muslims, because that's the reality of Indian Hindu society being divided, because there was really no coherence in Hindu society per se at the political level. And if you think of him as exactly as a politician and not literally a saint, there is a subtle evolution of his views on caste. But we must not forget that in Kerala, when the so-called outcasts, the lowest varnas or the avarnas, were not, including the Shudras who did have a varna, were not allowed to walk on certain temple roads where Muslims and Christians were allowed to walk, of course, along with upper caste Hindus. Gandhi obviously led. He went there and he led the movement against it. So, and Gandhi obviously famously against the Pune resolution, where I'm glad he defeated Ambedkar, because Ambedkar obviously wanted separate electorates for Dalits, and Gandhi said no, it's nothing doing. And then the compromise was you'll have a joint electorate with reservation quotas in terms. So I think Gandhi was, because he was the Hindu leader and Indian society was very traditional on caste issues, I don't think he was in a position to really take very radically reformist views. I'm not saying those are not his views. I have no way to know what his mind actually had. But over time, from the 1920s to the 1940s, you can see an evolution in his views. And
Can I come in?
Yes,
Can I come in?
This is
Because
where
I
he's
think
not Mahatma, he's Mahaneta.
yes,
that's
and to be fair, he himself said that. He said, "Please, I'm a politician. I'm not I mean, he said it
But
pro forma.
here I must come in and kind of challenge,
Yes.
if at all, if I'm being a contrarian, because this is one of the, I disagree with Ambedkar on 3.5 issues. And this is one of the half one, the Pune thing. Now, you know the kind of life that the untouchables were made to lead. And not just for 20 years or 30 years, but for 150, 60 years. Right?
Probably more than that.
Probably more than that, but really intensely, because a lot of it was recorded during the Peshwas and a lot of things, because 700, 800 years ago, things weren't recorded that.
Agreed.
Which is why the Pune thing happens every now and then.
Right. So, and this is the thing which I have with Koregaon as well.
Yes, exactly.
Look at it from their perspective.
Yes.
Millions of people are not even considered human. On what basis are you saying that Muslims can have a separate electorate, but these people cannot, who are fighting for their rights? Why do you think Gandhi was
But they
right?
didn't want a separate Muslim.
No, because I think Ambedkar was wrong and Gandhi was right, because somebody has to keep society together.
Anand,
See,
I think you're misunderstanding his
So you will
point.
keep society together just for the perfunctory sake of it,
No,
even though knowing that
reservations are
those
given.
people...
No, reservations are given. The question was not about separate electorates. See, what separate electorates does is you have no incentive whatsoever to convince the other guy. That's what separate electorates does, right? Whereas joint electorate, but the reservation says you must now reach out. This constituency is reserved for SC, ST, or whatever, but you must now reach out to the UCs or vice versa.
That is why I said this is half objection.
No, I think on this point, I understand where Ambedkar was coming from, but I'm very glad Gandhi won, because you see, to go back to the Japanese Burakumin example, see, they modernized, say, half a century before us, or slightly more than that. Because of that, this kind of identity politics of universal adult franchise, they didn't have that. They didn't become a democracy before that. Now they've reached a situation.
I see an upward mobility of this meshing of fingers with toes. It has caught on with Harsh now.
So
is this a...
ए यार आनंद तू क्या मतलब क्या है? तू प्रोफेसर है तो मतलब अभी सबको सुनाएगा क्या?
So I think the
साले तू अपने हाथ से खा रहा था आज पूरा दिन.
Nonsense. Do you have a record of it?
Yes, I will show it.
So my point
proof
is,
of the pudding is in it. No,
so in places like Europe and Japan, this happened before universal adult franchise, and therefore we never really had identity politics of that sort of reservations or separate electorates. In India, we obviously did a grand experiment of 1947, immediately universal adult franchise. Earlier 1935 election based the British Act before that. So therefore, within that context, it made sense. So it's just a matter of sequencing it. So I'm glad on that particular context that Ambedkar lost and Gandhi won.
Okay.
Because it was just
now the final question because I think this is important to bring it in the contemporary.
तू podcast चला रहा है ये
कोई बात नहीं, let him do it.
Really मतलब makes it like जैसे Einstein आ गया इसकी
तू
podcast.
इतना philosophical question पूछता है
आसान से
No, his question was not philosophical. It was very relevant.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
This was Abhijit. तू इसकी साइड पे है कि मेरी साइड में है?
I really appreciate that.
हाँ बोल.
The RSS view of the caste system. Can I just start off by saying I applaud it? Do you applaud it?
Okay, first
100%.
एक मिनट first.
You know why? This
Anand,
cleared.
एक मिनट. What is the?
No, one second.
Anand यार.
Keep it simple.
First stated. What is the view?
Anand यार.
Okay, sorry.
500 एपिसोड कर चुका हूँ, कुछ तो इज्जत कर. अच्छा, पहले सारे व्यूअर्स और लिसनर्स को एक्सप्लेन कर व्हाट इज द आरएसएस व्यू, बिकॉज़ बहुत सारे लोग पाकिस्तान से भी सुनते हैं इस पॉडकास्ट को.
Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, why don't you summarize RSS?
Okay, so the RSS view on, I will go by the latest speech of
Correct.
Mohan Bhagwat,
Yeah.
who said what संक्षेप में जो भी ये पद्धति होगी
Yes.
आज इसकी कोई रेलेवेंस नहीं है, इसे चले जाना चाहिए. Right?
Yes.
Okay, now अभी स्टार्ट करते हैं.
Yes. Now, why on earth would people associate RSS with casteism? Why on earth would people associate RSS with something that a host of RSS leaders, beginning with, I don't know about Hegdewar, to be honest with you, but at least Govalkar, I know, and people who were associated for some time with the RSS, then moved to Hindu Mahasabha, Savarkar. They have all been anti-casteist.
Dattopant Thingdi went till the extent where I go completely like nuke it, bam the system.
So I think again, see, there have always been. We tend to put a lot of things into the Sanghi
Tom
category.
Cruise wali hai.
There's always the official Sanghi explanation, but there's always been a lot of Sangh adjacent explanations. And in
This is the Swami doctrine. This is what Dr. Swami is saying, that look, if I was against the RSS 20 years ago, it was because I didn't understand that RSS is a completely disparate and diverse set of views. And if I was against something
no,
RSS,
it is, no,
somebody in
Anand,
RSS was
Anand,
saying it,
Anand,
now somebody else is saying
let me finish. The RSS has one official point of view as enunciated by the Sarsang Chalak.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. What is the RSS? It was made to bring about political Hinduism, like political Islam. Now, if you have political Dalit, political Kshatriya, political Gupta, political Mehra, political Mitra, you can't have a political Hindu. Okay? It is to bring everything together. There is one official point of view, but it tolerates a lot of people having different points of view. Now, there have always been three strands within the Hindu right period, which a lot of writers quite dishonestly conflate as being the Sanghi point of view.
This is the Abhinav piece, right?
This is
Abhinav
exactly, this is the point Abhinav makes. One, there have always been nasty, casteist, regressive little dicks. Okay. Second, there have been conservatives who are like, social change can't be shoved down a community's throat. We go along with society. The third, of whom the most prominent person was Savarkar, was a progressive. He believed that change needed to be shoved down society's throat. Okay. The RSS, if you look at internal elections and things like that, well, internal appointments, no regressive has ever made it to the top. They've all either been somewhere between a conservative and a progressive. More on the conservative side than the progressive side. Now understand, when you want a political Hindu, caste is suicide for you. Because caste prevents the political... That is why Mohandas had to seek the Mopla's help and things like that.
Exactly.
Had there been a political Hindu at that time, maybe Mohandas would not have sought
That is a very good point, Abhijit. You have made a very good point.
Which is what exactly said. We have this Gandhi became Gandhi by appeasing because Hindus were divided.
Yes.
And that is why actually Ambedkar said, why have Hindus been conquered for so long?
Yes.
Because they prevented a huge chunk, denied them the
Vajpayee said the same
fight.
thing in a speech on Savarkar that प्लासी की जंग हो रही थी, हमने बहुत लोगों को लड़ने से रोक दिया. Famous speech in Pune in the 1980s, Vajpayee said. So I fully agree with what with Abhijit said. That
so I think we've finished off this debate, haven't we? Is there anything else?
No. I'll simply say this point that people say, अच्छा ये है तो आप internal diversity खत्म कर रहे हो. See, diversity in Hinduism or in Dharma more broadly is on the axis of sampradaya, not on the axis of jati. That's important to understand. Now there might be a de facto overlap, not one-to-one, de facto overlap of jati and sampradaya. That's fair enough. But to say, people say, if you're against the caste system, you want to homogenize Hinduism. That is not true. In the same family, a person will worship Ganesh, somebody will be a Vishnu Bhakt, somebody else will be Shiv Bhakt. Same person might be different Bhakt, different moods of his inclination at the particular point of time. So the idea that being against the caste system is being against diversity is a deliberate lie. It's not even a misunderstanding. Yeah. It's a deliberate lie. Because the whole point of Dharma, it is diverse. There is no one God, there is no one simple text, etc., etc. Now, the other point I would say is there's nothing. I would just say there's nothing called a political Hindu. A Hindu is per force a political Hindu. Because when you're worshipping, you're never thinking of the word Hindu. None of our texts have the word Hindu. The very word Hindu, whether you add Hinduism or Hindutva or whatever, is per force political. It gives you this kind of umbrella identity. So the idea that you then actually go, this kind of Swami Karpatri kind of Akhil Bharatiya Ram, what is his political party's name in the 1950s? Swami Karpatri's party, which by the way the Jan Sangh refused to have truck with beyond a point under Advani in the 1960s in Rajasthan, saying that we are not going to go along with these guys. Akhil Bharatiya Ram Mahasabha, I think, Ram Parishad, because they do not respect Hindu Dalits. Swami Karpatri famously led a movement to prevent Hindu Dalits from entering Kashi Vishwanath. He went to the extent of creating a new Kashi Vishwanath Mandir, but Hindu society continues to go to the old Kashi Vishwanath. This idea fell apart. In fact, there is forgetting the, right now it's quite late. I'm forgetting the name of a Hindu guru to lobby Swami Karpatri Maharaj went, saying ki we must
Neem Karoli Baba.
that we must go because we must prevent the Varnas etc. from entering the mandirs etc. And Neem Karoli Baba, while initially he treated him with dignity and respect, and towards the end also, in the middle he totally blasted him. And he said, like, मंदिर साफ नहीं है, लोग पूजा नहीं कर रहे, ढंग से पद्धति नहीं हो रही, और आपको खाली ये पड़ी हुई है कि कुछ fellow Hindus को मंदिर में नहीं घुसने देना है. So there is a certain, ironically, people who call others Protestant themselves have a very literalist view of scriptures, of all the medieval shastras and things. And it is very important that this be called out, because you simply respond by saying you are against the shastras. My point is, yes, I'm against some of the shastras. Like, what is your point? I don't understand. The shastras are not supposed to be Sanatan Dharma per se. They are Smriti, they're not Shruti. So there is nothing you gain in your Hinduness over me by saying that you're against part of the shastras. In fact, I gain that over you by saying that I'm ready to reinterpret as per time and place. So it's very important to say.
Can I segue then this? And this is a very.
So just to recap before you come in, we asked three to simplify it really. I mean, deconstruct.
Wow.
One was about the caste system. Varna system. The second was about the Gita, right? The third was about Gandhi. The fourth was about the RSS.
Yes.
Totally deconstructed any questions that people generally have. Okay, common without. I mean, someone who's not really well versed like me in Vedas and read a lot. These are the four questions that generally come up. And would you agree that we've addressed all four? Anything else, Kushal, you want to say?
Yeah, so this leads, and this will be the last question, and we'll wrap it up because बहुत time हो गया. By the way,
we were meant to discuss two other topics, BBC.
BBC मगर यार ये flow अच्छी है, इसके लिए मैं थोड़ा सा. By the way, मानना पड़ेगा, इस समय अपने को almost 1600 लोग live देख रहे हैं, रात के 1 बजे हैं.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate all of you.
पूरे दुनिया में 1 नहीं बजे.
Despite
foreign वाले तो all दिन में देख रहे हैं. मगर
must you spoil the whole bloody enthusiasm?
आनंद की नींद खुल गई.
As the world slept, नहीं world जगा हुआ था सब.
Twitterati awoke to
at the stroke of the midnight hour. I think they're all watching from America.
अच्छा, ठीक है, अभी चुप हो जा.
We love America. God bless you. God bless Joe
Freedom
Biden.
and democracy.
I mean, we want freedom
Kamala
and democracy.
Harris.
And we love Kamala.
What are your pronouns?
Okay, एक मिनट. जो भी इंडिया से इस समय रात को हमको देख रहा है लाइव स्ट्रीम में, मी करो, देखो पूरी लाइव स्ट्रीम मी हो जाएगी. अच्छा, now but on a very serious note, this has to lead into the final question, which is the natural. And Anand, ये हम लोग, by the way, just full disclosure, जब भी हम लोग सब साथ में होंगे, ऐसा एक डिस्कशन होने वाला है. जब भी मैं ट्रैवल करूंगा और हम लोग सब साथ में होंगे.
खत्म कर दिया ना?
नहीं, अभी तेरे को मैं हर टाइम पकड़ूंगा एक नए टॉपिक के लिए.
Different topic
के लिए. ये एक बहुत, and this topic, because we're just going to do a superficial discussion.
खत्म कर पहले.
हाँ यार, मतलब exactly.
इससे एक natural question निकलता है. Who is a Hindu? जो आज हम फिनिश नहीं कर पाएंगे, ये नेक्स्ट टाइम हम इसको डिटेल में करेंगे. मगर हर्ष इज नॉट एन एथिस्ट, ही इज अ बिलीवर. मगर आनंद, अभिजीत एंड आई, all three of us are open disbelievers, skeptics.
You are a agnostic.
Skeptic, yeah, skeptic.
See, okay, now, sorry, what was your question?
So my question, there have been discussions again from a particular side where we have these debates that disbelievers are not Hindus.
It is complete
bullshit. It is basic.
One of the 12 schools.
Yeah, so no, basically certification agencies हर साइड में होती है, हमारी साइड में भी है, उनकी साइड में भी है. हर आदमी का स्टैंप है हिंदू वाला, सब लेके ऐसे सबके माथे पे मारते रहते हैं. So Anand, who is a Hindu according to you?
यार देखो, ये definition, एक तो I am very happy with people saying that I am someone or I am not someone. I'm very happy. Earlier I used to get very irked when people would say कि यार ये तो साला संघी है, ये कौमी है, ये. अब मैं माइंड ही नहीं करता.
कोई कौमी बोलता था आपको?
काफी लोगों ने बोला, गुस्से में आके बोलते
हैं. ये बहुत ज्यादा कौमी है, तेरे को पता नहीं.
QUAMI या COMMI?
दोनों था.
जाकिर नाइक था,
महाजिर, MQM. Oh shit. Yeah. कौम नष्ट करने वाले communists. No, but so according to me, I keep it again very simple. Even in atheism, there is Cārvāka, which I believe you are, which I personally believe are agnostics. Because to me, only a Darwinian atheist is actually a real atheist who doesn't believe that God exists, right? Somebody who doubts the existence of God is, according to me, Cārvāka.
Yeah. So in that sense, no, Cārvāks.
Now, before Hubble, okay, before Darwin, you could be forgiven for saying, that you are an atheist or an agnostic. That line wasn't there. But as science progressed, as Hubble entered onto the scene,
Shit just got real.
Wallace,
And
in the last 30 years, when you have Jacques Shostak, protocell, when you have, for example, Stemmers. No, I'm just telling you the tools that have proven Darwin's theory of evolution.
Yeah,
I
understand
prove
what
it
you're
as not
saying.
a theory at all, but an axiom. You immediately, but have to believe that God cannot exist, right? So, of course, there is an element of doubt in every
My
scientist's
man's
mind,
very
and that
brave
doubt-
here.
No, that doubt has to be there, but
I
I would
reject
rather
that.
err on the side of God not existing and yet believing that, yes, I have 1% doubt, than saying that, oh, no, I must remain an agnostic because I have that 1% doubt. I think time has come for...
No, but how does that circle to Hindu definition?
Yeah, so Hindu definition is, if people want to call me Hindu, culturally I have admitted I am a Hindu. My ancestors were Hindu, of course, this is whatever. But genetically I am Ethiopian. This also I've said publicly, because that is what I truly believe in. In terms of religion, I am a Darwinian atheist, so I don't believe that God exists. Who is a Hindu is such a profound and beautiful question that I believe anyone who wants to love humanity, who understands, who wants to be philosophical, who sees no boundaries or rules set by religion, personally, that person is a Hindu. But I know conservatives or Hindu conservatives, whom I also respect, I have no axe to grind against them, would completely balk at this definition of mine. So I am no one to give definition, but I am everyone to accept whatever people tell me. If they say I am a Hindu or an atheist, or बोल दो यार, मतलब अब मुझे really फर्क नहीं पड़ता. पहले मुझे गुस्सा आता, साला संघी कह रहा है, मुझे ये कह रहा है. नहीं, I mean, it's fine, because you know what I've understood, it is the other person's deficiency whenever he labels the other person, because he is something, right? When that person is something, you immediately, when you in a war, you need to categorize the other person. And ये तुम एक्सेप्ट भले ही ना करो, लेकिन ये फैक्ट है कि जो रिलीजियस माइंडेड होते हैं, उनको लगता है कि एथिस्ट साले हमसे ऊपर है रंग में. आई डोंट नो व्हाई. ये उनके दिमाग में हमेशा खटकती है, बिकॉज साइंस हैज डिस्प्रूवन सो मेनी ऑफ व्हाट दे बिलीव्ड इन. उनको एथिस्ट से डर लगता है.
I can give my...
Okay.
अरे यार, सब लोग देने वाले हैं यार.
Wait, I am a Brahmin, so
Okay, sorry. I apologize. I took your adhikara.
After 1.5 hours of intense philosophy and learning, if we end up with this kind of remark,
It is so
क्या होगा इस
apropos.
देश
We
का?
want the destruction of caste. मगर मैं पहले बोलेगा मैं ब्राह्मण है.
okay, so that is what
Sharman Varman Gupta. तू साला गुप्ता है, मैं शर्मन हूँ. हाँ.
So who is a Hindu? My definition is anybody who wants to be a Hindu is a Hindu.
I go by the constitutional definition of a Hindu, which is that
Negation.
self-negation.
Mm-hmm.
I am a Christian. I am a Muslim.
I am not them.
I am not a Hindu. Then you are not a Hindu. But if you believe you are a Hindu, you are a Hindu.
हाँ, तो ये मेरी हो गई एक तरह से
So,
definition.
so the texts
Very close to what I'm saying.
that have the texts excluded anyone from being a Hindu? No.
We don't even talk about the word Hindu, so
Yeah, exactly.
there's no definition.
Exactly.
there.
So first of all, who has first defined a Hindu?
Correct.
And that is why the constitution uses negation as the tool of defining a Hindu, right? Now, जब कोई
So,
definition
just to add to that, no, because people need to understand, people have defined, Allah has defined who must be a Muslim.
Yes.
Right.
Well, we don't know whether Allah is defined.
Of course.
We've been told Allah is defined.
Yeah, come on.
It is
Now,
clearly different.
Is this live?
Yes.
Please redact this, otherwise this fellow's head will be like rolling tomorrow on the... Allah has defined it.
One second.
Let us
me
not
finish.
dispute.
I'll
No,
lose
no,
my
I was-
train of thought. One second.
No,
I'll
no.
lose my train of thought.
That is good.
One second.
That will be helpful for us.
चुप है, चुप है. साला ब्राह्मण के बारे में ऐसे बात करता है.
The question I was asking was, is it defined
ब्राह्मण
just,
को साले.
just who is a Christian? Is it defined in Bible or any other religious Christian text?
Yes.
That is the question.
Yes.
Nicene Creed, Anand.
Christian theology.
Nicene Creed.
It was-
Nicene Creed
Exactly,
part.
the Nicene Creed. The Council of Nicaea defined what a Christian is. Now, the second thing in this is, I am an atheist, but I am a ritualist. I believe in connecting with my surroundings through certain things like visiting temples or performing certain rituals at home. Why? Because it connects me to my neighbor, it connects me to my mother.
You are
it connects
culturally
me
a
to my-
Hindu.
I'm culturally a Hindu, right?
You're a political Hindu.
Also a political Hindu.
Ritualistic.
But I am also ritualistically a Hindu because I feel the need for all my ancestors, something I don't know what it is, to be in me. Okay, and it
Do
will
you believe
become
in God?
no. And however, when Kamakshi, that is the family deity who's been in the family for the last 400 years, comes to me, I will ensure there is bloody no beef in the house. तू जिस दिन कामाक्षी आ गई घर में, बहनचोद किसी ने भी मेरे घर के अंदर बीफ लाया ना, कत्ल हो जाएगा. I am very clear about the ritualistic aspect of it. There has to be something that makes me as a Hindu separate from somebody else. And it's not because I want to give it up. My mom tried. I tried all these definitions of chalega, no problem. It's fine. You can't. You take the family deity, there has to be a certain sanctity.
Okay, so let me put it, I get it. So while you consume beef, because of rituals, you believe that on a particular day when beef is banned, you will not allow. So
No.
that's not hypocrisy. That's just saying that you believe in a particular ritual. Is that
No. Once my mom dies, it's the family deity. It'll have to come to me. The idol will have to come to me.
Okay.
The murti. Once that murti is installed in my house,
You won't have beef.
you can't.
You won't.
I will not, because that family deity has been brought up in that environment.
Okay.
You understand? Right.
So right now you are.
And it is, yeah. The thing is, I am respecting 400 years of
Okay.
tradition in my family.
That's not hypocrisy. That's following a ritual.
So I said I'm a ritualist. Okay.
Plus, do you also believe that in Hinduism, beef eating has never been banned?
No, I will say beef eating was never banned up to a point of time. It became banned after a period of time. But I am not basing it on the interpretation of the banning or the lack of banning. I am basing it on the fact that my family goddess has this ritual associated with her, and that is the ritual that will continue with her.
Okay. So you were for
Like I said, I am using a purely ritualist interpretation.
Understood. And that is the reason why you were against the Supreme Court verdict on Sabrimala.
Correct.
Abhi Harsh.
No, so I think there is a negative global definition which I have in mind of dharma. So anybody who believes that somebody else's belief will lead them to some kind of eternal damnation or hellfire, etc. If you exclude those people, and therefore you have a sense of spiritual mutual respect, that okay, I'm more obsessed or concerned.
Basically, teri aur meri jo
Yeah, I mean, if you believe in spiritual mutual respect and non-initiation of violence, let us put it that way, I think that is my definition of dharma.
The word you're looking at is reciprocity.
Reciprocity, yeah, with the golden rule, etc. I think that is my definition of dharma. I think the subset of dharma, which is related to Indic culture and idiom, is what we can call Hinduism. If you want an intermediate category, you can have Indic, because, for example, there is Doniya Polo in Arunachal Pradesh. How do you want to classify that, right? I mean, how do you want to classify certain quote-unquote Adivasi or Vanvasi rituals, which may or may not never have had a Vedic or Vedic adjacent basis either?
Tantric.
Tantric has more connections.
Shakta.
Shakta actually gets quite mainstream, but let us say somebody who has never had any connection with a Brahmanical system in that sense. So I think dharma is the superset. You have depending on whether you want to have an index, intermediate subset. Then you have Hinduism. And I think all the problems of trying to define Hinduism is, as you know, you talk about personal stories, it should be subset of Hinduisms. There's no reason for us to give color to Hinduism. You should
It's
give.
just such a beautiful philosophy.
Yeah, it will
Then
remain.
why would people have objections to it?
It will remain beautiful precisely if you don't give it too much color. You start giving it color because all our personal beliefs are very strongly held, right? If you start giving it color, then you narrow it, you constrict it. So whenever people say, "Oh my God, there are no rules," is that what you mean? I said, no. The rules are for whatever subset or sampradaya or whatever you want within Hinduism. It's not of Hinduism. But because Hinduism has been connected to an Indian culture or idiom, it depends how you want to define that.
Is it like roulette? So once the ball is slotted into a slot, it can't jump out of it. So the rules are. So you're saying there are rules.
No, there are rules, but not of Hinduism. Subsets within Hinduism.
That's what I'm saying. So in roulette, you have those
You can jump
compartments,
out.
right?
No, you can jump out. I can change sampradaya. Most Hindus in northern India de facto have no sampradaya. I mean, it seems more like on average South Indian thing.
But you believe God exists.
So I believe Shiva exists. And why should I use the word God?
Okay.
I mean, why should I even play on that vocabulary?
Yeah, it's not an Indian vocabulary.
I mean,
technically.
no, I'm not saying
A
against.
power which is unexplained exists.
I think the best way to think of it is, when you go to cinema,
something created.
when you go to cinema and there is something called peeling the wheel, the third wall, so to speak, people say, right? That the suspension of disbelief. I think suspension of disbelief is the best way I think about God or Shiva or Kali, in the sense that I think my skepticism makes my faith stronger. I don't think there's any faith without skepticism.
Certainly requires another podcast. I'm saying because I don't believe in that. He doesn't believe in that.
So I think without skepticism, even if those who don't have faith, that's fine. But those who even have faith, it is kind of meaningless if you never doubt it.
But sixth question before we go, because I think let's keep it very contemporary.
Yes.
Do you agree with what Romila Thapar said? Because I found it very conceited.
On what
I
point?
found it
What?
on that. Yeah, the Yudhishthira thing. I found it so conceited and so venomous.
I don't think we should even give importance to what.
No, I'm just saying it because academically,
Anand,
people
there was
are saying
nothing
she might-
academic in what Romila said.
yeah, sun to le. What she is trying to say is that the writer of Mahabharata came after
Yes,
Buddha.
that's what she's trying to say.
You understand?
Even after Ashoka.
So same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
It is venomous.
Yeah.
You understand? But you have to disprove it.
Yeah.
You can't just say that अरे भाई मैं ये कहता हूँ कि 5000 साल पहले महाभारत लिखी गई थी और अशोका is only 2500 साल या sorry 3.5 जो भी है.
Yeah.
ठीक है? That is what I want your comments on that. I mean, this is so venomous. Yeah, why would somebody even think that?
I have a historical perspective on it.
What is that?
So
what is the date of Mahabharata? That is what I'm saying.
Well, I go by the Bibi Lal date,
What is that?
900 BC.
900 BC.
Yeah.
That is suspiciously close to. No, Ashoka is 200 BC.
Yeah, Ashoka is 250.
See,
250.
Anand, can I answer this? Because थोड़ा बहुत ये subject को मैं follow करता हूँ. 900 BC is Bibi Lal's date. Now the problem is Sinoli में the word archaeologists are divided. A lot of people are claiming that Sinoli pushes the Mahabharata. याद है तेरी अभिजीत तेरी और मेरी इस पे फोन पे बात हुई थी कि does Sinoli push the Mahabharata back or not? I honestly am with Abhijit. I don't think so. Sinoli does anything to the Mahabharata date per se.
Sinoli is chariot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the date of the Mahabharata war is not changed,
What is that?
which I believe is pre-Harappan.
Wow. 5,000 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
And I'll
Give the evidence.
I'll tell you why.
No, please admire me because I want to demolish this sickening. I found it so venomous that an Indian would actually believe it.
ठीक है, समझा.
I'm
You're
excited about
outraged.
this.
You are very outraged.
Demolish it.
Yes, he's very outraged.
No
You see
one-
the outrage on his face.
It's
He's
been
very
a week.
Okay,
It's
point
been
two.
a week and no one has demolished it. You
No,
accept that?
she said that long back.
अरे
No,
बहुत
this is
पुराना
the
वीडियो है आनंद.
बहुत पुराना
This is
है.
the second wave.
The second
Second wave.
viral wave of
Second Thapar wave.
बहुत
it
पुराना
became
वीडियो
viral
है
about
वो.
3-4 years back. Then it became viral again. So, and when the Mahabharata was written, I think the point that Romila was making, to be fair to her, is that whatever this interpretation, which is now the homogenized kind of interpretation today, the guy drew this notion of a Dharma Raja from Ashoka. Okay, I fundamentally disagree with that, though it is a fair academic point to be made, because do we know of any Mauryan texts referring to the Mahabharata? And she's using, and I think that is a dishonest measure, because given the paucity of text, she has interpreted the lack of evidence to be the lack of existence. Okay. That said, we have always had the concept of dharma, and you should remember our religions also changed in 3 separate cycles. There was a Bronze Age Hinduism, there is an Iron Age Hinduism, which is the first axial
Why has
age.
Kushal disappeared from the window?
भाई मैं आराम से
Please show
relax
your black face.
So hum relax na karein sale. I have been like sitting here for 2 hours with my broken leg just to give respect to your audience. साला मैं भी तो ऐसे हो जाता फिर.
अच्छा माफ कर
और
दो
मैं अपना
मालिक
फोन दिखा देता साला.
एक तो
जैसे
free में
बोला,
चेहरा दिखाओ.
आनंद से रानी गया साला ये बड़ा आराम से बैठा हुआ.
Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. I can't feel my leg. It's
Yeah.
gone.
तो तू
I can't
फैल
feel
के
my back.
बैठना.
Respect to the audience. So kind.
फैल के बैठना आनंद.
हाँ मेरे तेरा बोल.
हाँ.
What was he saying?
Whatever you were saying, finish it fast.
अबे क्या बोल रहा है? चुतिए.
Bronze Age, Axial Age.
Harappan,
So
4,500
now
years.
you see generally that Iron Age thought patterns are much more advanced than Bronze Age. There is a move towards theology from pure mythology. It definitely fits in, and this is where the BB Lal date is important. The philosophy in it is so deep, because there is a deep philosophical message in it. It is impossible to think of it as a Bronze Age text. It fundamentally has to be an Iron Age text. There is that sophistication of theological
You're saying
thought.
the text date is different from the battle date, is what you're saying.
That was the first point.
Right.
The second point is the theological thought is so complex, it
Right.
can't be a Bronze Age
Okay.
document. Okay. The war might have happened before,
But the philosophizing, the ex post facto on that happened.
Just to
But
add one point.
even the philosophizing of the thing was before Buddhism.
Yes.
and I'll tell
Obviously,
you why it was before.
It's quite
Buddhism.
clear that it's before
And I'll
Buddhism.
tell you why it is before Buddhism. It is because there is no reference in any form or way to a Buddhist idea. The belief that Buddha brought dharma and the righteous king is ridiculous, because we've always had a concept of dharma
Always.
which was always to be
Gandhari
upheld.
talked about it, yeah.
So
The motto of Supreme Court is based on what Gandhari actually told Duryodhan.
Rakshati Rakshita.
Yes.
So we've always, but
No.
see, again, was that written?
That is raw.
Yeah.
No,
Supreme
Yatha-
Court says
Yatha Dharma-
Yatha Dharma.
Yatha Dharma Tatha.
So, but again, Gandhari, this might have been an Ashokan imposition.
यार
My
मैं
thing
थापड़
is-
को ना anyway.
Thapar.
नहीं
Horrible.
नहीं
I would not support that.
yeah
He's a Brahminical patriarch, so he will do these things.
जिस तरीके से बोला और
But I'm the product of an intercaste marriage, you see, so I'm highly discriminated against in this society.
तेरी कॉम्बिनेशन सबको मालूम पड़ जाए ना. एक बार तू बड़ा भड़का था मेरे ऊपर इसके लिए.
So, Romila has taken at face value of truth and played mischief with it,
She's played mischief.
because I
Horrible.
think all the
Venomous.
extraneous evidence would seem to suggest that there is absolutely no linkage.
No,
I don't
why
think
would she do it?
there
If
is-
she is educated, a historian, she knows her dates well. Why would she do this?
Can I say one thing here?
Okay, now-
First of all, I mean, I don't even, in this context, Buddhism as separate from Hinduism is a problematic
Yeah,
thing.
that's
Hmm.
also
So,
true.
Correct.
I mean, it is a very kind of,
Hmm.
this is actually in some cases colonized
Hmm.
mindset subconsciously, because I do feel that, as you said, because dharma is there and you have different sampradayas,
Hmm.
and people are always saying, oh, Harsha was Buddhist, but I'm surprised he was patronizing Shaivites or vice versa. But there's nothing surprising here. So there is a very interesting book I would recommend everybody to read. It's called The Invention of Religion in Japan. And there they say, well, all these Shinto gods, this is a Japanese word I'm forgetting, who were protecting the Buddhas, the local Buddhas, Amitabhas, and so on. And there was the demarcation of Shinto and Buddha is actually post-Meiji kind of phenomenon.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because then they were told what is Japanese religion, And they say, well, Buddhist, we know at least your faint memory it comes from India.
I don't think that's entirely accurate.
Or maybe
I'll
it
tell
became
you
further
why.
accentuated.
Because the three uniters, Oda Nobunaga, Tokugawa Ieyasu, and Toyotomi not
Hideyoshi.
not Ieyasu, but Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Oda Nobunaga was viciously anti-Buddhist. You remember
Yes.
the Buddhist massacre he carried out in
Even in China, they
near
on and
Kyoto.
off. But
on and off.
in all the temples,
The
there was a very
town-
organic mixing.
There was, but I don't. In Japan,
So going against Buddhism, like going against the Buddhist priests. But see, the Buddha was completely part of the Japanese mythological landscape.
the Buddhists were never persecuted in Japan the way the Christians, for example. Christianity was an immediate death.
So what I was trying to say there was, first and foremost point, I'm not very touchy about it. So my first response is Satyamev Jayate. So I don't
want touchy.
in the sense, I do think she's wrong.
Yes.
I'm not terribly touchy about it, because in the worst cases somebody proves that there was a Buddhist influence, I don't really bother that
Yeah.
much.
No, but 1 second,
Yes.
please remember.
But I
she thinks Buddhism is totally different from Hinduism.
yeah, I don't agree with her.
Yeah.
She can think whatever she wants to. I agree that she thinks differently. My first point is we should not fall for this deliberate dichotomy trap, because they want us to fall for that.
Yes.
So the first thing is, I'm not very defensive if somebody says we learned a lot of good things from the Buddhist
I am,
sampradaya.
because you have what she's saying, you have to see it from her frame.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, she's been there forever. What has happened? The
But see,
Hindu
just
Sangathan
because-
has gotten stronger only.
Just because she is, say, venomous.
We have to disprove her. Yes, I agree.
What is venomous about her explanation? It's a fairly clueless academic explanation,
Absolutely.
which doesn't have to be
Even that is being generous. Academic explanation.
because it's a deeply flawed academic methodology she uses. She's using a single point of reference, basically. Dharma, dhammam sharanam gacchami, therefore dharma, why should we get upset about it? I'm not agitated about it.
No, but Abhijit, she's
No, I
not the
understand
only one. This is a very growing
Motivated.
branch
right.
of
Yes. I agree.
ideation. In fact, what a plug. इसके लिए मैं मनुस्मृति के सेशंस करता हूँ और
See,
उससे
and I'll tell you what, even though I really admire Ambedkar, continue to. She's coming from the school that Ambedkar said, I was born a Hindu,
ओ वाह
but
तूने
I
मेरा
will
मुंह
not
की
die
बात
a Hindu.
या
Right?
उसने तूने
And he died a Buddhist. So in Romila's frame, something that Buddhism has lent to Hinduism is something, one of Hinduism's greatest achievements.
but
No,
Anand,
it's trying to
I
denigrate.
totally
You
agree.
know what I
Anand,
mean?
Anand,
Yes. We just don't buy the frame.
So let me.
Why did Ambedkar choose Buddhism?
He
could
said
have
it.
chosen
He said, why I'm not choosing Islam.
exactly.
No, but
and or Christianity.
but see, to be very honest, and I think इसमें राजीव मल्होत्रा की बुक में भी उन्होंने ये पॉइंट रेज किया है कि अंबेडकर was he rejected the two core beliefs of Buddhism, the four the eightfold the noble truths and eightfold path जो है आपका या fourfold path on eight noble truths. He didn't accept that, so he was, I mean, Ambedkar was far away from being a Buddhist in that sense, at a philosophical level.
The consideration of Anand is the right way to look at it. I think he just wanted to die a symbolic flourish.
But
and let me also
which
tell you
totally
something,
understandable.
the greatness of what people like Thapar will never bloody understand. Okay, as you said, this country transcends the deepest of bullshit philosophy you might throw on
All
it.
isms.
I stayed 100 meters away from where Ambedkar's samadhi is.
Ji.
Sorry, where he renounced Hinduism and he took Buddhism in Nagpur, 100 meters away. And I went to that place.
1956.
And there were at least 30,000 Hindus there venerating. What is the punishment for apostasy in Islam? It's bloody death.
There's no comparison.
What is the punishment for apostasy in Hinduism? Is Bharat Ratna. 30,000 Hindus going and visiting a guy who renounced Hinduism. ये थापड़ को कोई समझाए क्या कर रही हो यार?
Which is why I must say
पता नहीं मेरा कैमरा बंद हो गया.
I'm a dharma optimist. So that on social media and in general discourse.
Now come to the
There's a lot
academic
of-
thing.
sure.
Academic thing about Thapar.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, मेरा कैमरा बंद हो गया. मेरी गलती नहीं है. पता नहीं कुछ तो.
No worries.
So
You can come here. You can shift.
नहीं कोई बात नहीं.
आवाज सुन रहे हैं.
आवाज सुन रहे हैं. They can hear
Oh,
us.
this is nice.
Oh, क्या कर रहा है? अच्छा. So this entire point is not a Thapar point. There are a few academics who are peddling this idea, and how they peddle it is very important to steelman them. So what they do is they look at the linguistics of the Mahabharata. Now, naturally, this text as it exists today is a very new text, right? ये तो अभी लिखी गई है, तो वो उसकी भाषा को पकड़ते हैं और फिर वो एक लॉजिक को पकड़ के वो बोलते हैं ये तो नई टेक्स्ट है. क्यों? क्योंकि इसकी संस्कृत नहीं है. टेक्स्ट के नए वर्जन्स नहीं निकल सकते, टेक्स्ट के पुराने वर्जन्स एक्सटेंट नहीं हो सकते. ये बहुत सारे पॉइंट है. वो लोग महाभारत का कंटेंट एनालिसिस करते ही नहीं है. महाभारत का अगर कोई कंटेंट एनालिसिस करेगा और उसकी फिलॉसफी, जो अभिजीत ने बात बोली वो बहुत जरूरी है, उसकी फिलोसॉफिकल एनालिसिस करो, उसके बाकी सब एनालिसिस करो, it clearly goes before the Buddhist thought itself. और ये जो है ना, इनफैक्ट I am working on it. I'm going to do a dedicated podcast where I'm going to ask a fundamental question. Why I wanted to do this caste discussion is, it is made of as if caste is uniquely Hindu.
It's not.
Well, you are in for a shock if I start reading Buddhist scriptures. And when you see dhapa ghap casteist verses, तब क्या करोगे? So what? My question is, what did Ambedkar
immediately कहेंगे कि अरे ये तो हिंदुइज्म है.
तब एक मिनट, what
Catholics in French churches had separate gates to enter the church.
And
Separate gates.
what did Ambedkar reject is my fundamental question. अंबेडकर ने क्या रिजेक्ट करके क्या एक्सेप्ट किया? आज सिखिज्म देख लो. मार्केटिंग क्या होती है? मार्केटिंग होती है असी ते कुछ नहीं कर दे जी. रियलिटी क्या है? इंडिया की हाईएस्ट कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ऑफ दलित्स पंजाब में है, और आज भी सब सेपरेट गुरुद्वारे, सेपरेट क्रेमेशंस.
I did a factual tweet and I lost a lot of friends. I don't know why people have so much confirmation bias. Army friends, because there are two regiments, and Jats, the Sikh regiment is there, and the Dalits, they are not allowed to join that regiment. And I just said that, in infantry. Yes. I think that they do this thing.
Yes, that's right.
And one Sikh, he thought I was playing some. I said, look, I'm telling you a fact.
I remember the tweet.
Yeah, that tweet still exists. But the fact is, people get so worked up because उनको अंदर से चोट लगती है. और ये कहते हैं कि हिंदुओं को जितनी चोट पहुंचानी है पहुंचा दो, लेकिन और रिलीजन्स में हम ये एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं करेंगे कि कास्ट सिस्टम है कि नहीं. जबकि अम्बेडकर ने खुद कहा है हिंदुइज्म शुरू हो गया, मैंने कर दिया, हिंदुइज्म से ज्यादा कास्ट सिस्टम इस्लाम में.
Just one point quickly, and this is the biggest hole in Romila's argument. We know Ashoka today because of archaeology. Till the British did all the excavation and the decipherment of the Brahmi scripts, India had totally forgotten about Ashoka. There was no memory of this emperor called Ashoka. Okay, do you find him in any great
No, we had forgotten about him completely.
Nobody knew about him. Even the Buddhist canon had forgotten about him.
That is such a good point. Yeah, I did not think of it.
So they based the Hindus. Based the Mahabharata on a king that nobody remembered, jiske kartut nobody remembered, who was known as Chandashok during his time. Who are you kidding? Who killed? Who committed the massacre of Kalinga 4 years after he became a Buddhist? Kisko Buddhu bana rahe?
No, but I have a limited disagreement with that, because we have never been good at excavating any time. We've forgotten so many of our heroes.
But we have forgotten. How do you?
We have forgotten so many, yeah. Right. We are horrible at excavating our own.
So on what basis did we change the Mahabharata? Or how did a forgotten king?
Okay, now I get what
influence the Mahabharata.
But he wasn't that important.
Now I get,
cultural memory in that sense.
Yeah.
So अभी we'll wrap it up. I know वो BBC की बात करने की रह गई है. So just passing comment. What do you just say? Last question.
No, I tweeted about it and
but that's so jarring, yeah. मतलब this whole discussion is.
हाँ तो ठीक है. So रहने दो. Let's not discuss it. Let's not discuss
about BBC.
BBC को रहने दो. But okay.
Government that has banned even tweets discussing.
And you know the worst thing is, the BBC contacted them for comment before releasing the documentary. They did not respond.
और अभी बैन कर रहे हैं.
Then they get their weakest spokesperson in 100 years out to put the shittiest bloody, I'm not going to name names, to put out the shittiest bloody explanation on earth, and then they go and ban it.
I protest because you've insinuated deep enough for me to understand that guy is my batchmate. So I protest.
So sad. I commiserate with you. I commiserate.
I protest vehemently.
And this is not the first time he's played this kind of mischief, incidentally. He's done this on 2-3 different occasions. He seems to be quite willing to give liberandus and Congressis talking points.
Liberandus.
I wonder if that
so
is...
filthy.
Sorry, libergandus.
Oh my God.
I don't know why he does it. I'm attributing it to inadequate training, though there could be an element of mischief there as well. You have, and how long have you been saying that some foreign outlets need to be kicked out of India? Everything post facto, bad media management, sab kuch post facto hota hai, and then you end up looking like idiots.
Okay. I don't think the documentary really matters.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It really does.
It was so. I mean, I
It's
watched
going to
it
get more views because it was
I
banned.
had to comment on it in the evening, so I had to watch it. और बीच में आकार पटेल आ गया. मैंने कहा यार साले मतलब कर क्या रहे तुम लोग?
आकार पटेल वो जो मोदी की पिन मारता है डॉल को.
I mean, there has to be.
I want everybody.
You want respectability to be lent to your documentary, and you bring in Akar Patel.
It helps the PM politically actually.
You want to Google Akar Patel's famous article on why Hindu men are so ugly.
He's talking about himself.
You ought to honestly, shameless plug here. You ought to Google just one article that totally destroyed Akar Patel for eons to come, and that was written by yours truly. Where I got a lot of flack for about a month because people thought that I am abusing not only Modi but BJP, right wing, Lata Mangeshkar, and every other this thing. And what I had done was I had taken 250 sentences written by Akar Patel in all his articles ever and composed one article out of it. 250 sentences. It took me a month to do it. It's called Modi Magic. And let me confess here that I wrote that for a month. I was trolled. You bastard, you say such things about this. बाद में फिर उसका एक आखिरी में ना मैंने एक डॉट रखी थी. वो डॉट को लोग क्लिक करते तो वो आकार पटेल के सारे 250 sentences आते with their references to the articles.
You are such a tease. Come on, what will people say?
You did it deliberately also.
Of course, and then
of course I love it.
I juxtaposed them in such a way that it actually looked like I am right, and it's like made complete sense.
Oh my God.
Right, each sentence. And then Akar Patel emailed me and said, "You have absolutely destroyed me." And the follow-up article was I used to do these doodles. So I did an Akar Patel doodle where I made him out to be a psycho, and and the house which he was looking at, in that house I did a close-up where the revolving chair moves and the skeleton of his mother comes out like that, like Sonia Gandhi, complete like psycho movie.
Oh my goodness.
And then he wrote and he said, "Mr. Ranganathan, can I have a blow-up of this thing that you've drawn?" I said, "Piss off, you bugger," or some shit like that.
That was a bit mean.
Okay, so चलो अभी हम लोग wrap up करते हैं, but before we wrap up, आनंद की बुक आई है भाई, जाओ सब लोग लो आनंद की बुक.
I did not tell him to say this.
तो मैं खुद नहीं कर सकता.
Thank you.
मैं खुद नहीं कर सकता.
जमाना आजकल बड़ा खराब है, लोग कहेंगे साला shameless plug कर रहा है.
नहीं ऐसे नहीं.
But please भाइयों, आप कर ही रहे
हो तो ले लो.
तो कमीनो 10 किताबें लो. साले फ्री में सब लोग यहाँ 2 घंटे से सुन रहे हो मुझे, मेरी लात नहीं हिल रही है इस गधे के चक्कर में, हिल नहीं पा रहा यहाँ पे. You go to Amazon right now. I'm ordering you. Buy 10 books. Give it to your friends and families.
And I just want to say that, the other 3 chaps, their interpretations don't count for much. I am the Brahmin here, and that too Tam Brahm, so highly superior, and only my interpretation is valid, and only I'm the only Hindu in this room. Ye sab Hindu nahi hai. Ye sab, they do not have the great Brahminical Varna Jati wisdom that I do. And you see, they all have hair on their head, which means their mental growth has not been enough to push all the hair out of their head.
Have you seen this astonishing video on Twitter
please
where a bald man's head
word.
is steaming? Have you seen that?
No.
In winters, there's steam coming out of his bald head.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's evaporation, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
It happened with you as well?
It must have.
He didn't see that coming, did he?
It must have.
That was a setup of all setups. He's like, Abhijit को interest में डाला. Hey, तेरे सकले में होता है क्या?
And I just want to demonstrate that how much anti-Brahmin hate there is. These two baniyas and this whatever it is, have ganged up on the only true pure Brahmin out here who has great wisdom and superiority.
We have Central Asian blood, right?
You see, I am not like you people. My ancestors were from Ukraine. They came 1,500 years back on chariots. You people did not even know how to read and write at that time. And they came and civilized.
Some of us still don't.
Yes. Especially this fellow here.
Can you tell the hotel to block the Wi-Fi connection right now? That's the only way this guy's going to stop.
And you can see, look at the difference in mentality. He's a descendant of Lucy. I am the descendant of
Adi Shankaracharya.
No, I am the descendant of Abislav Mitrofanovich, who came from who was my ancestor who came in a horse-drawn chariot from Kiev.
I thought you were Tsarina. Smita, you told Smita you were Tsarina.
I'm different things to different people.
दिल्ली में जाके मैं बदल जाती हूँ.
So please remember, only my interpretation has any caste validity. And if you hear their interpretations, you will go to hell. Punarapi jananam, punarapi mananam. It is only my interpretation that can give you moksha.
Okay, sir, तुझे कुछ बोलना है?
After that, I cannot say.
Yes, ठीक है. So, thank you, boys.
Whereof, as Ludwig Wittgenstein said, whereof you cannot speak anything, thereof you shall be silent.
अच्छा, तो अभी ऐसे impromptu sessions जब भी हम लोग कभी मिलेंगे, तो हम लोग करेंगे. ये हम लोग ने डिसाइड किया हुआ है. और अगर आनंद धोखा देगा या इनमें से कोई धोखा देगा तो भाई तुम लोग जानते हो इनको किधर गाली देना है. ट्विटर पे गाली दे देना. मैं तो सिर्फ इक्विपमेंट लेके आता हूँ और काम कर लेता हूँ और गुड बॉय के जैसे चीजें करता हूँ.
But one thing we got to know that I really admire Kushal on this. His equipment we got to know is worth 50,000. His mic is worth 50,000.
अबे कभी ना तुम्हारा माइक गिरेगा.
And we just told him.
तेरे को कोई compliment देगा.
नहीं, वो उसके मुंह से कभी निकला है मेरी तारीफ.
The utter uselessness of him spending 50,000 on an equipment where the person he's interviewing would have a 500 rupee mic. Okay. And ever since we told him that, he's like, oh my God, why the hell did I spend so much money?
To be fair, nobody ever accused him of being hereditarily intelligent.
अभी मैं बंद कर देता हूँ इसके पहले कि मेरे साथ और कोई अश्लील हरकत हो जाए. चलो,
so much.
Yeah, okay, boys, girls, it is amazing कि हम लोग इस समय रात के 1:27 हुए हैं और इस समय 1800 लोग देख रहे हैं. और मुझे मालूम है इंटरनेशनल व्यूअर्स हैं. देख, कोई दुबाश ने ट्विटर पे ट्वीट भी किया कि आई फाइंड इट ऑफेंसिव. ये लिखा है कि आई वाज वाचिंग अंटिल अभिजीत एंड यू डिसाइडेड टू मेक फन ऑफ योर इंटरनेशनल व्यूअर्स. या अरे तू भाई अच्छा आदमी है, हम लोग नहीं बोल रहे ऐसा. So
I mean, America gave us freedom and democracy. And we love America. I think every Indian wants America to come and do regime change in India and free us from our fascist government. And
the real test of American is how do you pronounce IRAQ? IRAQ. That's the real test for an American.
Iraq.
He's an American.
Yeah. Okay. चलो, we'll wrap today's discussion up. Hopefully ऐसा कोई एक और बार होगा.
5 बार बोल चुका.
बंद कर रहा हूँ यार. ये भौंकना बंद नहीं होता. भौंकना बंद नहीं कर रहा है.
Okay. You only read out that comment now.
Okay, चलो.
इसके बाद कास्ट का कोई भी पॉडकास्ट
नहीं होगा.
डिस्कशन करे मतलब it will never come close to explaining.
नहीं.
So here please admire us and our perspicacity.
अच्छा. Thanks Anand.
है ना?
Especially Anand. Very good training.
The Abrahamic mindset. He wants the final word.
Yes.
This
which finality, I never get because this idiot.
Hinduism does not believe in finality of an argument.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Chalo. Bye.